The emergency session of the Galactic Council took place on the neutral station Convergence, deep in the void between territories. For the first time in 800 years, representatives from all three major powers sat at the same table without weapons drawn. Hanul walked into the chamber wearing simple diplomatic robes, flanked by two human advisors. She looked calm, but inside she knew this moment would determine the future of both humanity and the galaxy. The aliens had called this meeting and they wanted answers. The chamber itself was impressive, a massive dome with seats for hundreds of delegates. But today only 12 beings sat in the vast space, 4 from each alien power and 4 humans. The emptiness made every word echo. Chancellor Vex of the Velthara Consortium spoke first. His 4 arms gestured dramatically as he addressed Hanul. Ambassador, what we witnessed 3 days ago has shaken the foundations of our understanding. Your people demonstrated capabilities that our scientists consider impossible. Not impossible, Hanul replied calmly. Just difficult. Humans have always been good at solving difficult problems. Hegemon Thorn of the Keth hegemony leaned forward aggressively. Don't play word games with us, human. What we saw was technology beyond anything in our databases. Stellar engineering, dimensional manipulation, gravity control. These are theoretical concepts, not practical tools. For you, perhaps, said Dongyun, the human historical analyst sitting beside Hanul. But humans approach problems differently. We don't assume something is impossible just because it's hard. Prime Neural Kex of the Collective spoke in the emotionless tone of their species. Our analysis indicates that your demonstrations required energy outputs equivalent to small stars. Your vessels showed no signs of such massive power generation. Explanation required. Hanul had been preparing for this question for days. We've learned to be efficient with energy. Your civilizations tend to use brute force approaches. Bigger ships, more powerful weapons, massive installations. Humans prefer elegant solutions. This was true, but not the whole truth. Human technology was simply centuries more advanced than anything the aliens possessed. What seemed impossible to them was routine engineering for humanity. Chancellor Vex activated a holographic display showing the recent demonstration. This fighter craft disabled our battleship without firing a weapon. It manipulated gravitational fields with surgical precision. How? The same way your people manipulate electromagnetic fields, Hanul replied. Practice, understanding, and the right tools. Hegemon Thorn slammed his massive fist on the table. Enough riddles. We know you're hiding something. Our intelligence reports indicate your colonies are far more extensive than you've admitted. We've detected artificial structures and systems you claim are uninhabited. The moment Hanul had been dreading had arrived. She glanced at Ji-hoon, her military advisor, who gave her a subtle nod. It was time to reveal part of the truth. You're right, she said simply. We haven't been entirely honest about our presence in this galaxy. The admission sent shockwaves through the alien delegates. Chancellor Vex's large eyes widened. What do you mean? Dongyun activated his own holographic display, showing a star map. But instead of the few dozen systems the aliens thought humanity occupied, hundreds of locations lit up across the galaxy. We've been here longer than we initially claimed, Dongyun said, and we've been more thorough in our exploration. Prime Neural Kex's mechanical voice carried a hint of emotion for the first time. This indicates presence in our territory. Explanation required for territorial violation. We haven't violated anything, Hanul said firmly. We've been careful to avoid inhabited systems and respect your borders. But yes, we've established research stations and monitoring posts throughout the galaxy. Monitoring posts? Hegemon Thorn's voice was dangerous. You've been spying on us. We've been watching, Ji-hoon interjected, speaking for the first time. For 2 centuries we've observed your civilizations, learned about your cultures, and tried to understand why you've been locked in eternal conflict. The military advisor pulled up historical data. In the past 200 years, your 3 powers have fought 17 border conflicts, engaged in 43 acts of industrial sabotage, and assassinated over 300 political leaders. Meanwhile, potential solutions to problems like resource scarcity, population pressure, and technological stagnation have been ignored. Chancellor Vex looked uncomfortable. These conflicts are necessary to maintain the balance of power. Without constant vigilance, one side could gain an unfair advantage. Unfair advantage? Hanul asked. Or just advantage? When did progress become something to fear instead of celebrate? She stood and walked to the center of the chamber. Your civilizations are incredibly old and wise. You've survived for millennia, built vast empires and achieved wonders that deserve respect. But you've also become prisoners of your own success. The holographic display changed to show galactic resource distribution. You control thousands of worlds, but you're barely using a fraction of their potential. You have brilliant scientists, but they spend more time watching each other than researching. You have massive fleets, but they're used to maintain stalemate instead of exploration. Hegemon Thorn growled. Easy words from someone whose people have been hiding in the shadows. What have you contributed to galactic civilization? This was the moment Hanul had been building toward. More than you know. Jihoon activated another display, this one showing incidents across the galaxy over the past century. Asteroids deflected from collision courses with inhabited worlds. Plague outbreaks that mysteriously ended just before becoming unstoppable. Solar flares that should have sterilized entire systems but somehow missed populated planets. Natural phenomena, Prime Neural Kex observed. Random cosmic events. None of it was random, Hanul said quietly. We've been preventing disasters, stopping plagues, and protecting your worlds for decades. Quietly, carefully, without taking credit or demanding payment. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Finally, Chancellor Vex spoke. Why? Because it was the right thing to do, Hanul replied. Because civilizations are precious things that shouldn't be allowed to die from neglect or accident. And because we hoped that someday, you might be ready to move beyond your current limitations. Hegemon Thorn was struggling to process this information. You're saying humans have been protecting us? Without our knowledge or consent? The same way parents protect children, Donghyun said. You watch them grow, keep them safe from dangers they can't see, and hope they eventually become wise enough to protect themselves. This comparison clearly offended the alien delegates, but Hanul continued before they could respond. We don't see you as children. We see you as civilizations with incredible potential that's being wasted on pointless conflicts. The galaxy could be a paradise if you worked together instead of against each other. Prime Neural Kex asked the obvious question. What gives you the right to make such decisions for us? Power, Jihoon said bluntly. We have the capability to help, so we chose to help. We could have conquered your territory centuries ago, but conquest isn't progress. We could have revealed ourselves and demanded tribute, but tribute isn't cooperation. Hanul walked back to her seat. We're revealing this now because the situation is changing. Your conflicts are escalating. New technologies are being developed that could destabilize the current balance. And frankly, we're tired of watching from the shadows. Chancellor Vex leaned back in his chair. What do you want from us? A choice, Hanul replied. You can continue your endless conflicts, knowing that we're out here watching and occasionally intervening. Or you can try something different. Work together. Share knowledge. Build something better than what you have now. And if we refuse? Hegemon Thorn asked. Jihoon's smile was not entirely friendly. Then you continue as you have. But be aware that the galaxy is changing, whether you participate in that change or not. The meeting continued for hours, as the alien delegates struggled with the implications of what they had learned. Everything they thought they knew about the balance of power had been shattered. A fourth faction had been operating in the shadows, advanced enough to manipulate events on a galactic scale. As the session ended, Chancellor Vex had one final question. What happens now? Now you go home and think, Hanul replied. Discuss this with your leaders. Decide what kind of future you want to build. We'll be here when you're ready to talk. The alien delegates filed out slowly, their minds reeling from revelations that would reshape their understanding of the galaxy. Behind them, the human delegation remained seated, knowing that the hardest part was yet to come. Fleet Commander Wanho stood on the bridge of the Harmony, watching the alien delegation arrive. Representatives from all three galactic powers had demanded this meeting. They wanted proof that humanity was what they claimed to be, simple colonists with basic technology. Sir, the alien ships are taking position, reported Lieutenant Inha from the tactical station. 12 vessels total. They're maintaining what they think is a safe distance. Wanho almost smiled. The aliens thought they were being cautious by staying 50,000 kilometers away. They didn't know that human weapons could accurately target objects from the other side of a solar system. Ambassador Nari appeared on the communication screen from the diplomatic vessel. Commander, our guests are getting impatient. They want to see our primitive technology in action. Understood. Begin the demonstration. The test had been carefully planned. Humanity would reveal just enough capability to satisfy alien curiosity without showing their true power. It was a delicate balance between maintaining their cover and proving they weren't helpless. The first demonstration was led by Seo Jin, a terraforming specialist. She had been tasked with showing how humans could barely manage basic stellar engineering. Honored delegates, she announced over the communication channel, will now demonstrate our experimental stellar maintenance technology. The target was a dying red giant star in an uninhabited system. Its nuclear fuel was nearly exhausted, and it would collapse within a few thousand years. The aliens considered stellar engineering to be purely theoretical, something that might be possible with unlimited resources and perfect conditions. Seojin's ship, the Star Tender, approached the dying star. To alien eyes, it looked like a standard research vessel with some unusual equipment attached. They couldn't see the dark matter manipulators or the quantum field generators that made the real work possible. Beginning dark matter injection, Seojin announced, though she was careful not to explain what that meant. The effect was immediate and dramatic. New fuel began forming in the star's core as dark matter was converted into hydrogen through processes the aliens couldn't detect. The star's color shifted from deep red to bright yellow as its fusion reactions stabilized. On the alien ships, sensors went crazy trying to understand what was happening. "Impossible," whispered Captain Hyun from the Velthara vessel. "The energy requirements for that process should be astronomical." "We've had some luck with focused gravity manipulation," Seojin replied modestly. "Though it only works on smaller stars." This was a massive understatement. The star they had just revived was larger than Earth's sun. Human technology could reignite any star up to supergiant size, and they had done it dozens of times throughout their hidden territories. The second demonstration was handled by Kyung-soo, a mining engineer. His target was a large asteroid with valuable metal deposits. "We'll show you our phase shift mining technique," he announced. "It's not very efficient, but it lets us extract materials without breaking up the asteroid." The aliens watched in amazement as parts of the asteroid simply disappeared, leaving behind perfectly carved tunnels and chambers. The missing material reappeared in the cargo holds of Kyung-soo's ship. "How are you moving matter through solid rock?" demanded Commander Zorth from the hegemony vessel. "Dimensional folding," Kyung-soo replied casually. "We learned it from studying quantum mechanics. Though we can only manage small objects." Another lie. Human dimensional technology could phase entire planets between realities if needed. They used it regularly to hide their larger installations from alien detection. The final demonstration was the one that truly shocked the aliens. Combat pilot Inha had volunteered to show off defensive capabilities against one of the alien escort vessels. "This is just a test of our evasion systems," she announced as her small fighter approached the massive alien battleship. "We found that rapid maneuvering can sometimes confuse targeting computers." What happened next was beyond the aliens' comprehension. Inha's fighter began moving in patterns that violated everything they knew about physics. It turned without momentum, accelerated without apparent thrust, and seemed to exist in multiple locations at once. "Target lock lost," reported the alien gunner desperately. It's phasing in and out of reality." "That's impossible," Captain Hyun exclaimed. "No vessel that size could generate the power needed for dimensional shifting." Inha's voice remained calm over the communication channel. "We've gotten pretty good at managing power efficiency, though this only works for short periods," but she wasn't done. As the alien ship tried frantically to reacquire target lock, Inha activated her ship's gravity manipulation systems. The massive alien battleship suddenly found itself unable to move. Its engines were running at full power, but it hung motionless in space. "What's happening to our ship?" demanded the alien captain. "Sorry about that," Inha replied. "Our defensive systems sometimes interfere with nearby gravity fields. We're still working out the bugs." She released the gravitational lock, and the alien ship lurched forward as its engines finally found purchase again. The alien crew was too stunned to respond immediately. Fleet Commander Wonho opened a channel to all the alien vessels. "I hope that demonstration was satisfactory. As you can see, we've developed some interesting techniques over the years." There was a long silence before Captain Hyun responded. "Commander Wonho, what you've shown us today, these are not the capabilities of a primitive species. We never claimed to be primitive. Wanho replied carefully. We said we were colonists who preferred isolation. We've had a lot of time to experiment and develop new approaches to old problems. Commander Zorth's voice was shaky. The gravitational manipulation alone should require a power source larger than our biggest ships. How are you generating that much energy? Efficient engineering, Wanho said with a slight smile. Humans are good at making things work with limited resources. The truth was that Inha's fighter had more available power than the entire alien fleet combined. Human fusion reactors were centuries more advanced than anything the aliens had developed, and that was before factoring in zero-point energy extraction and antimatter systems. Dr. Vorth from the Trilaxian delegation asked the question they were all thinking. Commander, if these are your defensive capabilities, what are your offensive systems like? Wanho paused before answering. This was the moment they had been building toward. We prefer not to think in terms of offensive and defensive. All our technology is designed for construction, research, and protection. But he let the implication hang in the air. But they could be weaponized, finished Ambassador Nari from the diplomatic ship. Any technology can be weaponized, Wanho agreed. We choose not to do so because we have no enemies. We hope to keep it that way. The alien delegates spent the next hour asking technical questions that the humans answered with carefully crafted half-truths. Yes, they could manipulate gravity. No, it wasn't easy. Yes, they could phase matter between dimensions. No, it didn't work on very large objects. Yes, they could reignite dying stars. No, they couldn't do it quickly. Every answer was technically true while hiding the vast scope of humanity's real capabilities. As the meeting ended, Captain Hyun made one final observation. Commander Wanho, your people have accomplished in 2 centuries what our civilizations have been unable to achieve in millennia. How is that possible? Wanho considered his answer carefully. Perhaps it's because we haven't spent those centuries fighting each other. When you're not watching your back, you can focus on moving forward. The alien ships departed soon after, their crews struggling to process what they had witnessed. Behind them, the human fleet remained in position, looking innocent and peaceful. But the demonstration had changed everything. The galaxy now knew that humanity possessed capabilities that bordered on the miraculous. The question was what they would do with that knowledge. Admiral Taehyun floated in the zero-gravity observation chamber of Shipyard Prime, watching the construction of humanity's newest vessel. The ship was massive, nearly 10 kilometers long, but it would never appear on any alien sensor. Like everything else humanity built, it was designed to be invisible. Construction is ahead of schedule, reported Chief Engineer Minho as he joined the Admiral. The new hull composites are performing better than expected. Complete stealth at all frequencies plus the ability to phase shift if we need to avoid physical detection. Taehyun nodded. Good. How many more yards do we have online now? 47 major construction facilities plus hundreds of smaller installations. All hidden in asteroid fields, rogue planets, or dead systems. The aliens would need to search for 1,000 years to find even half of them. The Admiral smiled grimly. Humanity had been busy during their 2 centuries of isolation. While the galactic powers fought their endless Cold War, humans had built an infrastructure that spanned the entire galaxy. They had mining operations and systems the aliens didn't even know existed. Research stations in the deep void between stars. And manufacturing centers that could build anything from starships to entire space habitats. Show me the latest intelligence reports, Taehyun said as they moved to the command center. Captain Sora's face appeared on the main screen. She was currently aboard the stealth reconnaissance ship, Ghostwalker, deep in Trilaxian space. Admiral, we've completed the survey of Sector 847. 17 inhabited worlds, total population approximately 4 billion. Industrial capacity is lower than expected. They're still using chemical rockets for in-system transport. Any military installations? 3 orbital defense platforms, all using outdated plasma technology. A single human corvette could disable all 3 without taking damage. This was the pattern everywhere. The alien civilizations looked impressive from the outside. Vast fleets, fortified worlds, billions of citizens. But their technology was centuries behind humanity's. More importantly, they had no idea how to use what they had effectively. What about natural resources? Asked Dr. Minho. Barely touched, Sora replied. They're mining less than 5% of their available mineral wealth. Most of their planets still have untapped oceans and unexplored continents. It's like they're afraid to dig too deep or spread too far. Admiral Taehyun understood why. The three galactic powers were so focused on watching each other that they neglected their own development. They built just enough to maintain the balance of power, then stopped. Innovation was dangerous because it might upset the careful equilibrium they had maintained for centuries. In another part of the galaxy, Ji-won was conducting her own experiments. As head of the Quantum Communications Division, she was responsible for humanity's most advanced technology, the instantaneous communication network that connected every human installation across the galaxy. Network status report, she said to her assistant. Youngman, all nodes operational. Current coverage includes 94% of charted space and 67% of unexplored regions. Message transmission time averages 0.003 seconds regardless of distance. Ji-won pulled up a galactic map showing the network. Thousands of relay stations hidden throughout space, each one using quantum entanglement to send messages faster than light. The alien powers still relied on physical courier ships that took months to carry messages between distant worlds. Any problems with the new dark matter manipulators? She asked. Minor calibration issues on Station 47, but nothing serious. The aliens still don't know dark matter can be directly manipulated, so there's no risk of detection. This was humanity's greatest secret. While alien scientists studied dark matter from the outside, human researchers had learned to touch it, shape it, and use it as a tool. Dark matter manipulation allowed them to do things that seemed impossible. Bend space, create artificial gravity, even phase objects partially out of normal reality. Ji-won's personal communicator chimed with an incoming message from Earth Command. The quantum entanglement allowed for real-time conversation across any distance, something that still amazed her even after years of using the technology. Priority message from Admiral Taehyun, the device announced. All department heads report to Shipyard Prime for briefing. An hour later, the senior staff was assembled in the shipyard's main conference room. Admiral Taehyun looked serious as he addressed them. The cultural exchange program is proceeding, but we're facing new challenges. Our people embedded with the alien civilizations are reporting increased suspicion. They're starting to ask harder questions about our capabilities. Dr. Minho leaned forward. What kind of questions? Technical ones, mostly. Our engineers keep solving problems that the aliens consider impossible. Our scientists keep asking about research the aliens abandoned centuries ago. They're beginning to suspect we know more than we're telling them. Captain Sora's image appeared on the communication screen. I can confirm that from the intelligence side. Alien military commanders are noting that human reaction times and tactical thinking are far superior to what they expected from a primitive species. Ji-won spoke up. We always knew this would happen eventually. The question is, how long can we maintain the deception? That depends on how careful we are, the Admiral replied. But there's another issue. The alien powers are starting to see us as a potential game changer. All three sides are sending diplomatic missions to our colonies, hoping to recruit us as allies. This was dangerous territory. Humanity's policy had always been to remain neutral and hidden. Getting involved in the galactic Cold War could force them to reveal capabilities they weren't ready to show. Recommendations? Asked Admiral Taehyun. Dr. Minho was the first to speak. We could reveal some of our technology gradually. Nothing too advanced, just enough to explain our capabilities without showing our true strength. That's risky, Captain Sora warned. Once we start revealing technology, they'll want more. And they'll start asking where we got it. Ji-won had been thinking about this problem for months. Maybe it's time to consider a different approach. Instead of hiding our capabilities, we could misdirect them, make the aliens think our advantages come from something other than advanced technology. Explain, said the Admiral. We could claim that humans are naturally superior in certain areas, better reflexes, faster thinking, more intuitive understanding of physics. Let them think it's biological rather than technological. Captain Sora looked interested. That could work. Aliens already know that different species have different natural abilities. If they think humans are just naturally good at engineering and tactics, they might stop asking about our technology. Admiral Taehyun considered this. It's worth trying, but we need to be very careful about what we reveal and how we reveal it. One mistake could expose everything we've built out here. Dr. Minho pulled up a holographic display showing humanity's hidden infrastructure. Hundreds of installations, Thousands of ships, millions of people working in complete secrecy. We've spent 2 centuries building this. We can't risk losing it because we got careless. The meeting continued for several hours as they planned humanity's next moves. The galaxy was changing, and humanity would have to change with it. The age of hiding was coming to an end, but what would replace it was still unclear. Outside the shipyard's windows, the stars looked the same as always. But Admiral Tae-hyun knew that appearances could be deceiving. Among those stars, 3 ancient civilizations were struggling with forces they didn't understand, while humanity watched and waited for the right moment to step out of the shadows. That moment was coming sooner than any of them expected. Dr. Subin stood on the observation deck of the Velthura Research Station Harmony, watching the blue-green planet below. She had been living among the aliens for 3 months now, studying their culture as part of the first human-alien exchange program. What she had learned worried her. The war started over mining rights, explained her alien colleague Dr. Kenth, his forearms gesturing at a holographic display. The hegemony of Keth claimed the Trilaxian Empire was stealing resources from neutral space. That was 800 years ago. Subin nodded, making notes on her tablet. And it's still going on? Oh yes. Sometimes it gets hot, sometimes it cools down, but it never stops. None of us can afford to let our guard down. The moment one side gains an advantage, the others team up against them. Back on Earth, this kind of conflict had been called a Cold War. But 800 years, humans had gone from wooden ships to starships in less time than that. What about technological advancement? Subin asked. Surely progress continues despite the conflict? Dr. Kenth made a sound that the translator interpreted as bitter laughter. Progress? Any time one side develops something new, the others sabotage it or steal it. We spend more time watching each other than actually researching. Subin kept her expression neutral, but inside she was amazed. These 3 galactic powers had thousands of worlds and billions of citizens, but they were stuck in a technological stalemate. Meanwhile, humanity had been advancing exponentially in their hidden corner of space. Across the galaxy, Engineer Do-yun was having his own revelations. He had volunteered to work with Trilaxian scientists on what they called their most advanced project, a new type of faster-than-light engine. The quantum field manipulation is the tricky part, explained Chief Engineer Vorth, a tall creature with tentacles instead of arms. We can only achieve a 3-to-1 compression ratio. Do-hyun looked at their equations and had to stop himself from laughing. Their advanced engine was less efficient than the drive system on human cargo haulers. But he played his part. Fascinating, he said. On Earth, our scientists theorized that 7-to-1 might be possible. But we never had the resources to test it. Vorth's tentacles wiggled with excitement. 7-to-1? That would revolutionize galactic travel. Do you have the calculations? Some rough notes, Do-hyun said carefully. He would share just enough to seem helpful without revealing that human ships routinely achieved 50-to-1 compression ratios. Meanwhile, military analyst Yuna was embedded with a hegemony of Keth patrol fleet. She watched their combat exercises and had to work hard not to show her shock at how primitive their tactics were. The key to space warfare is formation, integrity, explained Fleet. Commander Zorth as his ships moved in rigid geometric patterns. Maintain discipline, follow the battle plan, and victory is assured. Yuna had studied these same tactics in military history classes. They were based on naval warfare from humanity's pre-spaceflight era. Human fleet doctrine had moved far beyond such simple concepts. What about adaptive responses? She asked. What if the enemy does something unexpected? Commander Zorth looked confused. Why would they? These formations have been perfected over thousands of years. Everyone knows the proper responses. That was the problem, Yuna realized. Everyone did know the responses. All 3 powers used the same basic playbook, which meant their conflicts dragged on forever with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage. The real shock came when Yuna observed their weapons testing. The aliens were proud of their new plasma cannons, which could destroy a small asteroid. She had personal sidearms that were more powerful. Your reaction times are impressive, Commander Zorth noted after watching Yuna during a simulation. Most species take several seconds to process targeting data. You seem to do it almost instantly. Yuna nodded modestly. Humans have quick reflexes. She didn't mention that she was using a neural interface that connected her brain directly to the ship's computers. From her perspective, the alien targeting systems were moving in slow motion. Back on the research station, Dr. Subin was making friends with the alien scientists. They were kind, intelligent beings who reminded her of human researchers from centuries past. They were asking the right questions but lacked the tools to find the answers. "We've been trying to understand dark matter for millennia," said Dr. Kent as they walked through the station's science labs. "We know it exists. We can detect its gravitational effects, but we can't interact with it directly." Subin nodded sympathetically. Human scientists had cracked dark matter manipulation 50 years ago. They used it for everything from faster-than-light communication to gravity control. But she couldn't tell the aliens that. "What about quantum entanglement?" she asked instead. "Theoretical only," Dr. Kent replied. "The energy requirements are too extreme for practical applications." Subin's personal communicator was using quantum entanglement to send instantaneous messages across the galaxy. Her morning briefing from Earth Command had arrived while she was eating breakfast, transmitted through a network of entangled particles that made the alien communication systems look like smoke signals. The most disturbing discovery came when Subin accessed the alien historical databases. The three galactic powers had been locked in their Cold War for so long that they had forgotten what peace looked like. Entire generations had grown up knowing nothing but mutual suspicion and careful balance of power. "Don't you ever imagine what could be accomplished if you worked together?" Subin asked Dr. Kent one day. The alien's large eyes seemed sad. "Of course. But it's impossible. Trust takes time to build, and we've had too many betrayals over the centuries. Besides, what if we let our guard down and they attack? Better to maintain the balance." Subin understood now why humanity had remained hidden. These civilizations were trapped in their own fears. They had the resources and knowledge to solve nearly any problem, but they spent all their energy watching each other instead of looking forward. In her private quarters that night, Subin composed her report for Earth Command. The galactic powers were not evil, just stuck. They needed guidance, but they would resist any attempt to force change upon them. "Recommendation," she wrote, "continue cultural exchange but prepare for long-term involvement. These species have potential, but will require careful handling. Any sudden revelation of our true capabilities could destabilize an already fragile situation." She paused before adding the final line. "Also recommend accelerating deep space monitoring. If these three powers ever unite against a common threat, their combined resources could pose a challenge even for us." It was a sobering thought. Humanity was more advanced, but they were also vastly outnumbered. The galaxy's stagnant civilizations might be primitive by human standards, but they still controlled thousands of worlds and trillions of citizens. The game of hiding was becoming more complex every day. The communication console on the bridge of the Terran defense ship Aurora lit up with an incoming signal. Commander Jiho looked up from his morning coffee and frowned. No one was supposed to be out here at the edge of known space. "Sir, we're getting a transmission from an unknown vessel," reported Lieutenant Mina from the communication station. "They're using standard galactic frequencies." Jiho set down his cup and walked to the main screen. "Put it through." The image that appeared made everyone on the bridge freeze. It was definitely not human. The creature had blue-gray skin, 4 arms, and large black eyes that seemed to take up half its face. When it spoke, the universal translator kicked in. "Unknown vessel, this is Captain Hyun of the Velthara diplomatic ship Seeker. We detected your settlements in this sector. Please identify yourselves." Jiho kept his face calm even though his heart was racing. This was it. First contact. After 200 years of hiding, someone had finally found them. "This is Commander Jiho of the Terran Defense Fleet. Welcome to our space. Captain Hyun." The alien's forearms moved in what might have been surprise. "Terran? We have no record of your species in our databases. How long have you been in this sector?" "Long enough to call it home," Jiho replied carefully. He pressed a button that would send an emergency signal to Earth Command. "We're peaceful settlers who prefer to keep to ourselves." Captain Hyun's large eyes blinked slowly. "Settlers? Our scans show multiple colonies and industrial facilities across dozens of systems. This would require a significant population and advanced technology." Jiho smiled. "We're good at making do with what we have." 3 hours later, Ambassador Nari arrived aboard the research vessel Exodus. She was one of humanity's best diplomats trained for exactly this situation. As she prepared to meet with the aliens, She reviewed the files that had been kept ready for decades. The Valthera Consortium was one of 3 major powers in the galaxy. They controlled over 1,000 star systems and had been spacefaring for nearly 10,000 years. According to human intelligence, they were the most peaceful of the 3 powers, which made them the best choice for first contact. Nari transported over to the alien ship with a small team. The artificial gravity felt different, and the air had a metallic taste even through her suit's filters. Captain Hyun met them in what appeared to be a conference room. "Ambassador Nari," she said, extending her hand in the human greeting gesture. "It's an honor to meet you." Captain Hyun awkwardly tried to copy the handshake with one of his 4 hands. "The honor is ours. We are curious about your people. You seem to have appeared from nowhere." "Not nowhere," Nari said with a smile. "We've been here for over 2 centuries. Our ancestors were explorers who wanted to find a quiet corner of the galaxy to build new homes." 2 centuries? Captain Hyun's translator conveyed his surprise. "That's impossible. We have deep space monitoring stations throughout this region. We would have detected such a large colonization effort." Nari's aide, Dr. Subin, spoke up. "Perhaps your sensors weren't looking for us. We tend to build our cities inside asteroids and on the dark sides of moons. We learned early that space can be dangerous. This was true, but not the whole truth. Humanity had mastered stealth technology that could hide entire planets from most scans. They had been watching the galaxy's major powers for decades, learning about their capabilities and weaknesses." Captain Hyun showed them to his ship's observation deck. Through the large windows, they could see the human colony ship New Sol in the distance. To alien eyes, it looked like a simple transport vessel. They couldn't see the advanced shields, the quantum computers, or the weapon systems that could destroy a small moon. "Your ship is quite large," Captain Hyun observed. "What do you use for power?" "Fusion reactors," Nari replied. This was technically true. They did use fusion reactors, but they had also mastered zero-point energy extraction and antimatter containment. Their real power sources would have seemed like magic to the aliens. Dr. Subin pulled out a small device and began taking readings of the alien ship. "Fascinating construction," she said. "How do you handle the stress fractures in your hull plating?" Captain Hyun looked confused. "Stress fractures? Our hulls are made from the strongest materials in the galaxy. They don't develop fractures," Subin smiled politely. "Of course. I'm just curious about maintenance procedures." She had already detected 17 different structural weaknesses in the alien ship's design. Human construction techniques had solved those problems centuries ago. The meeting continued for several hours. The aliens asked about human culture, technology, and intentions. Nari answered honestly but carefully, always understating humanity's true capabilities. "We're simple people," she said. "We farm, we build, we explore a little. We have no interest in politics or conquest. We just want to live in peace." Captain Hyun seemed satisfied with this answer. "The consortium values peaceful species. Perhaps we could arrange for some limited trade and cultural exchange." "We'd be honored," Nari replied. "Though I should warn you, we're probably not as advanced as you're used to dealing with. We might not have much to offer." As the human delegation prepared to leave, Captain Hyun made one last comment. "I must admit I'm impressed by your people's ability to remain hidden for so long. It takes considerable skill to avoid our detection networks." Nari just smiled. "We're good at staying out of trouble." Later, back aboard the Exodus, Dr. Subin was reviewing her scans of the alien vessel. "Their technology is at least 3 centuries behind ours," she reported to Nari. "Their computer systems are using binary processing. Their power distribution is incredibly inefficient. And their weapons," she shook her head. "I've seen better designs in our history museums." Nari nodded. This matched intelligence reports from the hidden observation posts that had been watching the galactic powers for decades. "Remember, Subin, we're supposed to be simple colonists. No showing off." "Understood," Subin replied. "But it's going to be hard to pretend their technology impresses us." Nari looked out at the stars. Humanity had a choice to make. They could continue hiding, living quietly at the edge of space, or they could slowly reveal themselves and try to guide these ancient but stagnant civilizations toward something better. Either way, the galaxy would never be the same. First contact had been made, and now everyone would have to live with the consequences.